StraighTAllDay.com.
You're now tuned into the show where you learn the discipline to show up day after day, to do the work, the confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there even when the success you've expected to achieve has yet to be achieved. And on top of all this, you get a huge dose of personal initiative, which is the go-getter energy that moves any one of us, including yourself, to go and make things happen instead of waiting for things to happen. And then we put all this together into a series of frameworks, approaches, insights, strategies, and techniques all underneath the umbrella of one unifying philosophy. And we call it Work on Your Game. My name is Dre Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day, and welcome to the show. And today's topic is how feminism ends. Yes, Dre Baldwin, your host. I have come up with a plan, a master plan on how we put a stop and an end and a nail in the coffin of feminism. If you want to know how we do this, all you got to do is keep listening, because I'm going to tell you. Now, you've heard some of my thoughts on feminism in the past. If you have not, let me refer you to a few episodes, maybe not all of them, because I've talked about it a good amount. I told you how to identify toxic femininity in episode 2457. I talked about the feminization of sports. I did a 6-part series on the feminization of sports. And that was in episode number, let me tell you what episode that was. That was episode number 2200. Then back in episode 2039, I told you the worst traits of feminized men, which is feminized men is one of my 3 least favorite types of human beings, along with moralizers and just generally wimps and complainers. People who just complain about shit all the time. So I've given some thoughts on feminism. And I talked about feminism in other different ways that I may not have used feminism in the title. For example, when I gave you a 5-part series on how men need to stop being pussies, a lot of that was about men falling victim to and following behind concepts of feminism, which is backwards already, just by the fact that you're following behind something that a woman has conceptualized as a bad idea for a man, period. That was episode number 3224. So I will summarize, even if you haven't heard any of those episodes that I just referenced, let me summarize my general idea of feminism, if you don't get it already, is that it's a bad idea, feminism, that has grown legs and arms and antlers and antenna. It's grown all these things for several reasons, which I detail in other episodes, but I'm going to touch on them here today. In the process of telling you how we destroy it, all you have to do is just reverse engineer everything that I'm saying, and that'll tell you how feminism came to be, and I'm telling you how to get rid of it. So today I'm going to explain how it can be eliminated by following the steps that I'm going to lay out. So I don't need to give too much more of a background on this, but maybe I should give you a definition of the term feminism so that we're all on the same page. Feminism, let's get a definition. So according to, let's see, whose definition do we want? Let's look at Merriam-Webster. They tend to be pretty consistent. Feminism's definition is belief in and advocacy of the political, economic, and social equality of the sexes, expressed especially through organized activity on behalf of women's rights and interests. This is a very corporate definition, but this is the definition in Merriam-Webster dictionary. And here's where I disagree with the concept. I'm not disagreeing with the definition. This is what it is what it is. The dictionary does matter. I did a whole episode on why the dictionary matters. The reason I disagree with the concept is because it's about the advocacy and social equality of the sexes. We are not equal. Men and women are not the same. So just on that alone, I disagree with the concept of feminism. But let's get into my points. Point number 1. Today's topic, once again, is how feminism ends. Number 1, a man and men in general. I'm saying this as a metaphor, but it can apply literally the same way it applies metaphorically, what I'm about to say. Men must be willing to tell women to shut the fuck up with no equivocation. I'm pausing there because I want that point to sink in. I want to make sure you heard me. The first point in getting rid of feminism is men must be willing to tell women to shut the fuck up with no equivocation. When I say no equivocation, what that means is shut the fuck up is a complete sentence. Not if or because or giving an explanation. It's just shut the fuck up, period. And again, this can apply literally. It can apply metaphorically. Actually, it applies both ways. One of the reasons why feminism has gotten to be what it is because too many men today are afraid to tell a woman to stand down, sit down, stay out of conversations that she does not belong in, stay out of situations she doesn't belong in, and out of places in which she is not qualified to be, or to tell her that her ideas or information are useless, inaccurate, unwelcome, and unproductive to a conversation. Many men, some of you who are listening to this right now, are not only actually all of you are capable as long as you know how to talk. Many of you are unwilling to do this. Even if you believe it to be true, you're unwilling to do it. This is one of the reasons feminism exists. So again, the reverse engineering of why feminism exists. One of the reasons that feminism exists is because men grew, I don't know, tired, afraid, nervous. I don't know what it is. Somehow, some way, men lost their way and stopped telling women when they were out of line and needed to get back in line. You are trying to get in the driver's seat of this vehicle. I'm driving the car. Get the hell out the driver's seat and get in the passenger seat where you're supposed to be. But because men lost the ability to do that, this is how we got feminism. Because women started saying, okay, let me challenge this man's leadership position. And she challenged it. Some bold, courageous woman challenged a man's leadership position. He didn't do shit and he let her lead. And she said, oh, I could do this to another man. She did it to another man. Then she started teaching it to her female friends, and a bunch of her friends bought into it. And before you know it, we have a whole movement of women who believe they are equal to men. You even got Merriam-Webster joining in on the bullshit. If men would just tell a woman to stand down, sit down, stay out of conversations you don't belong in, stay out of places where you're not qualified to be, and that your ideas and information are useless, inaccurate, unwelcome, and not productive, then, and just said that with no equivocation, it'd be over. There'd be no more feminism. For the record, there are men out there for whom these same points are true. The thing is, men don't have a problem saying this to other men. See, there are men out there who shouldn't be talking either. There are men out there who should be quiet on certain subjects. However, if a man thinks another man shouldn't be saying something, men will call the man out. But not as frequently or as openly will a man call out a woman to be quiet on a subject in which the woman is speaking authoritatively. Just because he's speaking authoritatively, and a lot of men are generally pussies. That's why I did a 5-part series on why men need to stop being pussies. And men have become pussies. Men were not always like this. Men have become pussies, and this is why women have stepped up and started to be more authoritative and more masculine in their approach. And this is where you get feminism. So a lot of men don't have a problem calling another man out on his bullshit, but a lot of men have a problem calling women out on their bullshit. The reason is there's a clever trick that has been played, a clever psyop that's been played. It is that a man gets labeled as some type of misogynist or patriarch or just a bad guy if he does so much as question or challenge anything that comes out of the mouth of a woman. This is the reason why many men are conditioned to not even challenge anything a woman says, because they don't want to face the backlash of having challenged a woman. It's not that they have a problem with challenging the point. They have a problem challenging the source of the point, which is a woman. I was watching this, not even watching, but I saw this clip on social media of this TV show on FS1 where there were 2 men and a woman on there. So there's a woman on there named Joy Taylor, and she is a host, I guess. And there are 2 men on there. There was Keyshawn Johnson, who was a football player who was pretty good in his day in the NFL. And then there's Paul Pierce, who is I believe in the Hall of Fame of basketball. And he was a pretty good player in his day. Won a championship in Boston, playing for the Boston Celtics. So Paul Pierce is on the show, Keyshawn Johnson's on the show, and Joy Taylor, the woman, is sitting in the middle. Now, Joy has never played a professional sport. She's never worked a reporter's beat. She's never been a journalist. How she even got to the position is, well, there's a lot of things that can be said about that. Let's just say, long story short, there's a lawsuit out there by a woman who was a stylist at FS1 who said Joy told her that she was having sex with the boss, who was this unattractive, fat white guy who was probably 15 years older than Joy. She was having sex with that guy, and that guy was the person in charge of placing people on shows. Joy was having sex with this guy, and Joy told the stylist that if anything ever goes wrong between me and this guy I'm having sex with, the boss I'm having sex with, to move myself up in my career, I'll just pull the Me Too, and I'll accuse him of sexually taking advantage of me, and I'll pull a lawsuit, and I'll be scot-free. And that lawsuit came out. I don't know what became of that lawsuit. I think the woman ended up getting paid off. The point being, if you want to know how Joy got to the position she's in, that might have something to do with it. But again, that was in a lawsuit, so she could probably always deny it. Anyway, I'm bringing this up to say that I saw this clip of Joy was on the show talking about, the conversation was something about the NFL. It doesn't even matter what it was, but she was going on and on and on, very passionately making her point. And her point wasn't really making much sense. And that's not the crazy part, because people get on the internet and don't make sense all day, every day. Everybody has the option to do that. That's the great thing about the democratization of publishing, is what the internet allowed anybody to say anything they want, even if they sound stupid. So he has a right to sound stupid. What was crazy to me was that Keyshawn Johnson, a man who has actually played a sport, and Paul Pierce, a man who has actually played a sport at the top 1% level of the NFL and NBA respectively, were sitting there and letting her go on and on saying a bunch of stupid shit. And when she got done talking, neither one of them pushed back against the dumb shit she had just said. That's a reflection of feminism right there. Because if either one of them understood what I just explained to you, they would have either cut her off or let her finish talking and said, what you just said doesn't make any sense. You don't know what you're talking about. As a matter of fact, you shouldn't even be on this show because we have actually played a sport. You have not played. You haven't been a journalist. You have no qualifications to even be here on this show other than the fact that you fucked the boss. Oh, be quiet. Just be quiet, be pretty, and you can kind of be the host. You can be the pretty girl host, but you shouldn't be offering opinions because your opinion is worthless because you have no bona fides in this space. See, that's what someone should have said to her. The problem is FS1 is a corporate-based organization, and if a man was to say that to a woman, especially on the air in a corporate-based organization, that man would lose his job. And again, men not having balls, men being pussies is one of the reasons why we're where we are. So this is the clever trick that has been played on men. And it's a bullshit trick, but it's a clever trick. If a woman has a bad idea, it's a bad idea. I don't care who the woman is. The woman could have some status. The woman could have fucked the boss. The woman could be pretty. The woman could have a college degree. The woman could have said her bad idea very eloquently. If it's a bad idea, it's still a bad idea. Again, men don't have a problem calling this out in other men. Women are really good, generally speaking, at manipulating emotions against other men. Women tend to be more emotional. Men tend to be more logical and rational. And the woman can manipulate the emotions of a man, whether through crying when she's challenged or attacked, claiming the victim status, saying, well, I'm not going to allow a man to quote unquote walk all over me. You hear women say that all the time. I never heard a man say, I'm not going to let somebody walk all over me. Unless it was a gay guy. I don't know if I even heard a gay guy ever say that, but I hear women say it all the time. A woman saying, I'm not going to be a doormat to a man, or a woman saying, I'm not just going to be quiet or be silent. These are phrases that women are trained and conditioned to use whenever they feel like they're being challenged by a man, as if they are being victimized, when really you're just being told, stand down and be quiet because you don't know what you're talking about, which is fine. All right, if you consider that you being walked all over, you call whatever the fuck you want. But if you don't know what you're talking about, you shouldn't be speaking. So that doesn't mean I'm trying to silence you. You should silence yourself because you know that you don't know what you're talking about, especially relative to the other people who are in this room or on this dais having this conversation. See, a woman should have the humility to understand that, but being that feminism is what it is, a lot of women have lost that humility, which means men need to reinsert that humility into the woman by telling her to shut the fuck up. This is the first point. Now, how many of you men listening to this are willing to do that? And the fact that many of you are quiet is exactly the fucking point. That's the point. And I want that to sit there for a second. These are very convenient go-to tools that women have been trained to use to manipulate men into allowing the woman to say and do whatever she wants with no blowback, no pushback, no backlash. Men need to get hip to this and redevelop the balls to reject it. Because at one point in your life, you had balls. All right, my son is 2 years old. He's got balls. All right, so you're 35 or 47. You got balls. At least at one point in your life, you had them. Without this, feminism shall continue to thrive. Okay, and all three of these points must be hit. All right, this is not a pick and choose. You got to do all three. Point number 2. Today's topic, once again, is how feminism ends. Number 2, man must carry himself and perform in a way that motivates women to aim for his approval. We just touched on this a lot in yesterday's episode. I told you that women have dived headfirst into this, offering the aspect of sex or the image of sex to men. And the reason why so many women have jumped into this is because so many men are buying what they're selling. And number one law of economics is supply and demand. A bunch of women are jumping in to offer more supply because there are more and more men demanding and asking for and buying it. So I understand why women are doing it. The problem is not that the women are jumping in and doing it. The problem is that the men are buying what they're doing. If a man instead did what I just told you, carry himself and perform in such a way that motivates a woman to aim for his approval rather than him aiming for her approval, then we flip the entire dynamic. And the key word here is discipline. This is a discipline, what I just described to you. Because again, if you're a heterosexual man and there are attractive women out there offering their ass, at least for viewership, if not for anything else, then I understand why you may be tempted to engage in some way, shape, or form with your time, money, attention, energy, or focus. I get it. If you're a heterosexual man, of course you're going to be tempted by that. You got balls. All right, that's what's supposed to happen. And if it doesn't happen, that's when you should be worried. The discipline is not that it's not happening at all. The discipline is what you do when you notice that. Do you have the discipline and do you have the structure in your life to ignore that and instead focus on something that's more important? And is it more important to you? And what is that thing? Those are your goals. Those are your true purpose in life, which is not your true purpose in life is not following around ass on Instagram. Because as I just told you, the supply is very high. So when the supply of ass is that high, what does that mean? It means a whole lot of girls out there offering it to whomever they think is willing, able, or a buyer. So if you're out there on your purpose doing your thing, one thing is you stop trying to get chosen by being one of 1,000 men trying to get the attention of a woman, liking her pictures or sending DMs or buying OnlyFans, like what we call a simp, not a pimp, but a simp. Instead of doing that, trying to get chosen, you position yourself to where those women are trying to choose you, or they're trying to get chosen by you, excuse me. They're trying to get chosen by you because they see you're out there on your purpose. And by the law of contrast, you're not one of 1,000 trying to get picked. You're one who's not even trying to get picked by her. You're telling her she got to clear the bar that you set. You change the entire dynamic of the situation. Does everybody understand this? This is how society flips if men can get disciplined. Again, this is what we talked about yesterday. Because men are not disciplined these days and they're trying to get the approval of women. Another reason why men try to get the approval of women, or another way men try to get the approval of women, is by co-signing stupid shit that women say. And I see this on social media all the time. Just a matter of fact, just this afternoon, I saw a woman say something stupid on social media. I responded and pointed out the stupidity in what she said. I didn't call it stupid, but I logically, rationally, and professionally pointed out how she was wrong. And you know who came in the comments underneath my post telling me that I'm wrong? A whole bunch of men. This is exactly what I mean. This is what feminism hath wrought. A bunch of feminist men, feminine energy men, defending bullshit that women say. We'll get to more about that in a second. Because men are not doing this, we got feminism. All right, I've said this in an episode previously when I talked about feminism. The reason this exists is not because of women, it's because of the failure of men and a bunch of pussy, feminine energy males, period. There is no society in documented history run by women that has survived or thrived, not one. There's a simple reason for this, because the bottom line of communication between human beings is physical violence, in case any of you didn't know. Two human beings cannot get a point across not non-verbally, but in a copacetic way, in a positive way, in a professional way, in a verbal way, then eventually things may turn physical. And if things turn physical, as a general rule, the woman is not going to defeat the man. All right, we all know this to be true. So we try to get something done through verbal communication, then eventually we communicate physically. And in such a case, no group of women will ever defeat a group of men. It's not going to happen. This is the reason why societies have been run, conquered, dominated, and controlled by men for as long as we've known. And this is the way that your creator, whatever you call your creator, they deemed it this way. Now, this is not something that men of the world just came up with this idea. Let's figure out how we do it. No, you were created with men being the more physically dominant species, and physical violence is the bottom line of communication amongst humans, period. Even if the physical violence was using a weapon, which a woman can fire a gun the same way a man can. Again, even though there are all these guns out in the world, why have you never seen a society run by women? I mean, they got access to guns too, right? Here's why. Because the capability of using violence when you want to is also inherent to men. It is not inherent to women. In other words, a man is more likely to pull out a gun and use it than a woman is, even though both of them can use it, and it doesn't require big muscles to use a gun. A man is more likely to use a gun than a woman is, just by biology. So to that end, when men are actually doing their duty and leading as we are designed to lead, there is no oxygen through which feminism can sustain itself. Feminism will have no air to breathe and men were doing their jobs. Feminism came to exist because men stopped doing their jobs as leaders. They were psyoped by what I explained here in point number 2, believing that it's time to step back and quote unquote allow women to step up into leadership positions. All right, this was a very bad idea. There is no such thing as allowing someone to lead, by the way. That doesn't exist. Anytime you hear somebody saying this, you know they're telling you some bullshit. There's no such thing as allowing someone to lead. Leadership is taken. It is not an allowance. You don't give somebody leadership. If you want to lead, you must take the lead. That's why they call it taking the lead. What do I say in point number 4 when I open up the show? Personal initiative. Initiative is not given. Initiative is taken. You take initiative by going and making things happen instead of waiting for things to happen. So the whole concept of we should allow women to lead is a misnomer in and of itself. It's an oxymoronic statement because you can't let somebody lead. They take it. Any of you watch National Geographic? Let me back up. If you are incapable of taking leadership, you are unqualified for leadership, just as a general rule. If you are incapable of taking the lead, you are unqualified to lead. A woman cannot take a lead from a man. Generally speaking, as a general rule, women cannot take the lead from men. They can't do it because if the man says, no, you're not taking it, what's the woman going to do? Fight? No, she's not going to win. All right, this is the issue. So, do you watch National Geographic? What happens in a pride of lions if a new male comes out of nowhere, some wandering male, he comes in and he wants to take over that pride. He wants access to the women. He wants to raise his own kids, and he wants to be in charge of that pride, but he wasn't part of the pride at first. What happens? Well, the alpha male in that pack, whoever it is, he steps up and looks at this new guy and says, well, who are you? New guy says, I'm coming in to take over. They don't actually say it. Lions don't talk. And they fight. That's what happens. Either, well, actually, one of two things can happen. First of all, the head pride alpha male lion may so much intimidate the newcomer that the newcomer says, okay, this is not even worth it. And they turn around and go find somewhere else to be, or they fight. And if the alpha male of the pride wins, then the newcomer has to turn around and go away. He just fought and he lost. Or if the new male wins and defeats the incumbent alpha male, he takes over the pride. You know what's the first thing he does when he takes over the pride? No, not go have sex with the female lion. No, the first thing he does is kill all the babies of the lion who he just beat. If there are any baby lions, he kills all of them. Why? Because he doesn't want any tainted blood in his pride, because it's his now. He just took it. That's how leadership happens, folks. You take it. It's not given to you. You take it. And there is no negotiation. All right, you got to fight the person in charge. If you win, you take over. You lose, you go away. There's no diversity, equity, and inclusion in the animal kingdom. Now, there's no petition to let somebody else have power. All right, this is how things work in the animal world. The difference in the human world is that we have feelings and emotions manipulated against us to, quote unquote, let someone lead. There is no such thing as letting someone lead. Okay, that does not exist. This is a bullshit and unnatural concept. If you are incapable of taking the lead, you are unqualified to have it. This is the reason why you're host. That's me. I don't do well in corporate settings or bureaucratic organizations, and I don't try to. Why? Because I have very little respect for people who have been given a title, but they carry themselves as if they took the title. I don't respect those people. And it's hard for me to hide that. See, people who can thrive in those environments, you may think the same thing that I think, but you're good at hiding it. I'm not good at hiding it. So that's the reason why you're in there and I'm not. I'm out here. Okay. You have a title that was given to you based on some subjective criteria, such as we need to hire a woman or we got to put a black person in this position. I don't respect your position. I can respect you as a human. I don't respect your position. So please don't try to leverage your position against me, because I'm going to call you out on your bullshit. So now, let's say I work there. Let's say I work in an organization where they put a woman in the leadership spot just because they wanted to have a woman in the spot. But I know I'm better than a woman. I put in more time and I'm more qualified and better at the job. Now I got you looking at me as I'm subordinate to you because I am technically lower on the org chart, just because they put you in a position that you did not earn your way into. Fuck that. I have no respect for that status. Probably couldn't even respect the person, even though it's not really their fault. I mean, they said they got to hire a woman, they hired you. You didn't do anything wrong. A true leader does not lose power when they leave the office, by the way. Let me say that one more time. A true leader does not lose power when they leave the office. What does that mean? That means if your power is based on being inside of a certain building or being amongst a certain set of people, then you don't really have power. That is quasi power. It's not real power. Real power doesn't change when you go into a different room or when you walk out of the building. Your power only starts when you walk in and it ends when you walk out. Your power is manufactured. It's handed to you by somebody else, because if that building didn't exist, who are you? You sit on that one while we move on to point number 3. Today's topic, once again, is how feminism ends. Number 3, bring general masculinity back to society. I mean, this is what it is. What I've been explaining in points number 1 and number 2 are leading up to this point right here. Good times create weak people, and weak people create hard times. When times are really good, we talked about this yesterday, people tend to get lazy and weak. The blade grows dull. And those weak times, weak people create hard times. And then those hard times create strong people, and the cycle just continues. Right now, we're dealing with hard times as a society because we have a society full of weak men, weak, lazy men, and weak, lazy, easily distracted men who are following around women. Again, it's the only reason feminism exists. Back when there was hard times and all of life was hard, and it was hard to get food, and it was hard to keep the food clean, and it was hard to even live past the age of 40. Back in those days, notice there was no feminism. You know why there was no feminism? Because there were no distractions. There was no time for anybody to come up with these bullshit concepts, because everybody was just trying to stay the fuck alive. See, now that we're so safe and we have all these luxuries and life is generally pretty clean and easy for most of us, now people have all this idle time and idle energy to come up with bullshit, and this is how we get feminism. That's how it happened. The reaction to, we have a society of weak men. The reaction to those weak men was women looking around saying, look at all these weak men. We might as well just take the lead. And when women stepped up and tried to take the lead, the men who were in a state of weakness could have easily woke up and said, no, you're not taking the lead. Even a man in a state of weakness is not going to be overtaken by a woman if he doesn't want to be. But if the man stays half asleep, sleepwalking, then he will just give the leadership to the woman, because a woman cannot take leadership from a man, as I said. But the men allowed them to do it. Now we get feminism. The fix of bringing masculinity back to society: no more participation trophies. That's a metaphor, is also literal. No more participation trophies, meaning we are not rewarding someone just for showing up. Now you got to actually do something of substance to be somebody. No more weaponization of feelings. If you think your feelings were hurt or somebody's feelings might get hurt, that means we can't do or say whatever we're about to do or say. Fuck that. Somebody getting their feelings hurt is a normal part of life. As they say, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. No pandering to people who are weaponizing their feelings. No more mind reading, such as accusing people of things like racism or prejudice as an excuse for your lack of accomplishments or achievements. So if you're black and you didn't achieve something, don't say because the system is prejudiced or the system is racist. Say, I got to step my game up. Again, just a different frame. Same situation, different frame. We need to toughen up as a society, and a tougher society will make stronger people. And stronger people create better times for everyone. So everybody benefits, including the women and the children. We are in a better society when men are generally tougher, because they will make things better and easier for the women and the children. A woman is not designed to be in a leadership role. Women is designed to be in a role of supporting a man, period. But when our society is weak, we get weak men. And our society is easy, we get weak men. And that makes hard times for everybody, including the women and children. So right now we are mass producing weakness through the men. And then it trickles down to everybody else. So women, this episode is not blaming you. If you took it as blame, that's your fucking problem. All right, remember what I told you on point number 1. Now, this episode is really about the men. So how does feminism end? Recapping today's class. How feminism ends. Number 1, men must be willing to tell women to shut the fuck up with no equivocation. And I do mean that metaphorically, but I also mean it literally. If a woman has a bad idea or says something dumb or is trying to stick her nose in situations that she shouldn't be involved in, a man needs to be willing to tell that woman to stand down and sit down. Early in his career, LeBron James was playing a game. He was playing in Cleveland. This is before he left Cleveland the first time. And he got into like he got fouled, and there was like this small little skirmish that happened on the sidelines that was starting to spill into the press row where all the cameramen are, right behind the basket at a home game for the Cleveland Cavaliers. And at this time, LeBron James's mom would be at all the games, like pretty much sitting in the front row, and she drew a lot of attention just because they would always put the cameras on her. And while LeBron is like in this little, it's kind of sort of a shoving match and yelling with some players from the other team in the middle of this basketball game. Now, LeBron James is like 6'9", and the other guys he's arguing with, they're about his size. LeBron James' mom comes running over as if to defend her son and jump into the fray. And LeBron, you can see him mouthing to his mom some form of, go sit your ass down. That's what he said to his mom. Go sit your ass down, because it's in the middle of the game. She's jumping in. What the hell is she going to do with his son is 6'9" something. And the guys he's arguing with, they're like 6'8", 6'10". What the hell are you going to do, mom? He told his mom to go sit the hell down. That's what I mean. All right, so there I'm giving, you said I never gave LeBron James credit on this show. There it is. Number 2, men must carry himself and perform in a way that motivates women to aim for his approval instead of men trying to get women to approve of them. All right, man, it is not your job to get approved of by a woman. It is your job to get approved of by high-performing men around you. Like we talked about, the high-value men out there, those are the people whose approval. You want to get approval from anybody, it should be them. And when you're playing at that level, the women come looking for you because they look for men like that. Number 3, bring general masculinity back to society. No more weaponizing feelings. No more making excuses for your shortcomings and losses. No more participation trophies. And everybody playing their fucking role. It's starting with the men. When the men play their role, everybody else falls in line. That's how it works. All that said, everybody, workonyourgameuniversity.com. We have opened our membership called The Circle. That is a group coaching program. You get direct access to me, and you know exactly what next steps you need to be taking based on the calls we're going to have, and the hot seats that you get on is $97 per month. Go to workonyourgameuniversity.com. You can learn more about that. Work on your game. Dre, all